What is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about my week number 16 injury recap for fantasy football in 2021. Inside today's video, we're going to be talking about all of the notable injury headlines, as well as discussing how you may want to pivot based upon this injury news for your fantasy team this week. But before we could get on into things, I would like to ask, if you are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, to please make sure that you do hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure to hit that like button down below. It would help us out a ton. And if you would like to follow me on Twitter, please do so at Notorious FNTSY. So without further ado, let's get into my week number 16 injury recap. We begin with Tyler Huntley, quarterback of the Baltimore Ravens. This week will mark the second straight game in which Lamar Jackson will not be the starting quarterback of the Baltimore Ravens. Huntley is expected to be the starter up against the Bengals, even though he missed practice on Friday with an illness that is not related to COVID. Last week up against the Green Bay Packers, Huntley played close to a perfect game in terms of being a backup quarterback, having 28 completions on 40 targets for 215 passing yards and 2 passing touchdowns. He also had 13 rushes for 73 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. So he had 4 total touchdowns in that game and close to 300 all-purpose yards, which is amazing for a backup quarterback. While they ended up losing the game because for some reason John Harbaugh is just enamored with going for 2 instead of, kicking the extra point with the best kicker in the NFL, which is a guarantee. Go to overtime and try to win the game. No, instead, John Harbaugh just likes going for 2. I know that's going to be a debate that some people have. Oh, is it worth it to go for 2? Should you just kick the extra point? It is what it is, obviously. That's in the past. They lost 2 straight weeks because of it. But hey, Huntley continues to impress, so I believe you should fire up Tyler Huntley this week with supreme confidence up against the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, the guy has proven that he could be a starter in the NFL. Now, obviously, he is not going to surpass Lamar Jackson and be the starting quarterback for the rest of the season. Once Lamar Jackson is good to go, he will be the starter of the team, but Huntley has shown that, hey, this guy does potentially have relevance on another team next season. Next up, we move to a running back with Rhamondre Stevenson, running back of the New England Patriots. Stevenson has been placed on the COVID list and will be out on Sunday. Damien Harris is in line to start, but is questionable with a hamstring injury. Where we are sitting right now up against the Buffalo Bills, some people will try to point at the last game they played with, oh, how great the New England Patriots were at running the ball, but this is a complete and utter different game. I understand, oh, it's the 2 same teams playing against each other, but there's not going to be a 50-mile-an-hour fucking windstorm during this matchup. At least it's not projected to be that way, obviously. I mean, that last game was just a run-heavy affair by the Patriots. They only threw the ball 3 times. I highly doubt that's going to happen again, unless Bill Belichick's just trying to prove some crazy point, and he just hammers the ball down the throat of the Buffalo Bills. Harris is a running back now that, if he is able to get the nod to play, that is start-worthy, but I'm not overwhelmingly excited for him up against the Buffalo Bills run defense. If Harris cannot play, then we move to either Brandon Bolden or J.J. Taylor being the lead back on the team, and it is very likely that neither are technically the quote-unquote lead back because they would just pivot into a committee system, which basically means you should probably start neither of them. So if Damien Harris does get the nod to go, I'm going to start him. I'm not very excited about him potentially being a top 12 running back, but he's a pretty safe running back too. And then if it's J.J. Taylor or Brandon Bolden, I would just look elsewhere at the running back position. Next up, we move to Joe Mixon, running back of the Cincinnati Bengals. Mixon did not receive an injury designation for his matchup this week up against the Baltimore Ravens. He was able to practice on Thursday and Friday. The biggest worry about Mixon is no longer about the injury that he has been dealing with, but in my opinion, the biggest worry has to do with his production. While he had a very strong stretch of games from week 6 until week number 12, over the last 3 games, this guy has been a complete and utter dumpster fire inside of your roster. He has failed to eclipse 10 half PPR points in each of those last 3 games. Last week up against the Denver Broncos, I understand, the Denver Broncos defense is looking better as of recently. 17 rushes for 58 yards and 1 reception for 2 yards. I also understand he was banged up in that game, but over the last 3 weeks, he has been so unproductive. And like I said a couple of weeks ago, this guy was on fire. He was scoring a touchdown every single game. He was on top of the world. So many people were excited to have Joe Mixon on their team, and right now, where we are sitting, I'm going to be starting Joe Mixon, but my expectations, and I believe your expectations, should be significantly lowered, and you shouldn't be enamored with the fact that this guy is going to be a top 12 running back on the week. Could he certainly be that up against the Baltimore Ravens? Of of course, but expecting that, in my opinion, is a little bit silly. The next player to discuss is Emmanuel Sanders, wide receiver of the Buffalo Bills. With Gabriel Davis as well as Cole Beasley out, Emmanuel Sanders is catapulted into a very solid situation this week up against the Patriots. Again, the Patriots defense is far from an ideal matchup. I understand that the Bills struggled last time against him, but again, you just fucking launched that game out, right? Don't pay attention to that game because there was a million-mile-an-hour wind. The game was rainy at the beginning. It was a very different game to what we are going to see this week, and without Gabe Davis and Cole Beasley, Emmanuel Sanders is slotted in as the number 2 wide receiver. It's a lot like Joe Mixon, but maybe not so much, because Emmanuel Sanders was doing really good right at the beginning of the season, and then the last 6-7 games have been atrocious for Emmanuel Sanders. But I think now, with him locked and loaded as the number 2 receiver on the team, he is slotted in to have a very solid situation this week. And if I'm being honest with you, I would put him close to must-start category up against the New England Patriots this week. But before we get on into the next injury news, I would like to let you guys know that we have partnered with Yahoo Fantasy this NFL season to bring you guys some great offers. Check out our exclusive limited time offer, which gets you guys 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. To qualify, you need to be new to Yahoo, sign up for an account via the link down below, deposit, and play. That's it. Yahoo will send us your name after you play in your first paid contest, and we'll reach out to you via email with your coupon. If you would like immediate access, that's okay. All you got to do is email support@awesemo.com. Again, support@awesemo.com, and we'll get you set up. You can also claim a free $10 of site credit by clicking the link in the video description down below, which can be used to enter any Yahoo contest, including the $1 million NFL Baller. Make sure to use our DFS tools and projections designed specifically for Yahoo to give you guys the best shot at winning big. Please make sure you check out Yahoo Fantasy. The link is down below in the description. The next injury report to discuss is Nick Foles, quarterback of the Chicago Bears. Head coach Matt Nagy stated that 9-inch Nicholas Foles will be the starting quarterback of the Chicago Bears this week up against the Seattle Seahawks. This comes as a result of Justin Fields not being able to practice, as well as Andy Dalton being ruled out with a hand injury. This will damage the upside of Darnell Mooney, as in my opinion, Nick Foles is not as good as Justin Fields. Now, I understand Justin Fields is far from this amazing quarterback in his rookie season. Most rookie quarterbacks aren't the second coming of fucking Joe Namath or something crazy like that. But at the end of the day, I still think that Darnell Mooney is startable, but my excitement for him is really dwindling with Nick Foles. We have seen, though, Nick Foles get jolted into lineups and just turn into the amazing version of himself. So maybe that ends up happening, maybe it doesn't. In terms of Nick Foles himself, I don't really want to be starting Nick Foles because unless you are in a super deep league, there's probably just another quarterback you can pick up with a lot more upside. Even though the matchup is juicy up against Seattle, I would rather leave Nick Foles on my bench. Next up, we move to another quarterback, Jared Goff, quarterback of the Detroit Lions. Head coach Dan Campbell stated that Goff is highly unlikely to play this week up against the Atlanta Falcons. For someone who streams quarterbacks week to week, this was basically a dream matchup because he just had a solid game last week, and now he's going up against the Atlanta Falcons. The Lions are on fire after convincingly beating the Arizona Cardinals last week. In terms of other noteworthy players on the Lions, this would have a negative effect on Rhamondre St. Brown, who is a target monster. Now, maybe he is still targeted at the very high amount, but maybe the change at quarterback with Tim Boyle under center could lower the amount of targets that he is seeing in this game. Would I completely pivot off of St. Brown? No, but if you have other options, I think that you might want to look another way off of Rhamondre St. Brown without Jared Goff. The next player to discuss is on the exact same team, DeAndre Swift, running back of the Detroit Lions. Swift is listed as questionable this week. If he was given the nod to play, then you're basically forced into a scenario where you play him. The matchup up against the Falcons is just too good to leave a player with the skill set of DeAndre Swift on your bench. If he is not able to play, which in my opinion is probably what's going to end up happening, you should probably look the other way from Jamal Williams and Craig Reynolds. While Craig Reynolds has actually shown some flashes as of recently, and I think he might be better than Jamal Williams at this point, I don't think the team's going to fully commit to Craig Reynolds with Jamal Williams back, so I'd probably just look the other way from either of those. And then final injury news here, Jake Fromm, quarterback of the New York Giants. The Giants are very likely to start Jake Fromm this week over Mike Glennon, which makes complete and utter sense, and I've said utter like 5 times in this fucking video. What am I, a cow? But it makes sense because Mike Glennon just sucks. Mike Glennon is so bad right now that you just have to get off of him. I understand Daniel Jones is going to play, so just play Jake Fromm. It makes sense, right? See what you have out of the young kid. I don't think Jake Fromm is necessarily going to be the quarterback of the future for the Giants, but at least see what you have in him, right? That makes a lot of sense. But with Fromm as the quarterback, there's really no reason to start him, and there's really no reason to start like Kadarius Toney or Kenny Golladay, because I just don't think you can trust any players on the Giants. This is just a very bad team at this point in the season. So thank you guys all so much for watching today's video. If you did end up enjoying, please make sure to hit that like button as well as that subscribe button down below. I would appreciate it a ton. I love you guys all. Have a great rest of your guys' day. As always, goodbye.